Welcome back, YouTube. And for those who do not know me, hello. My name is Noah, and on this channel we talk about death, true crimes, haunted people, places, and things, spiritual reparations, and how you can fuck around and find out. If you're not subscribed here, bestie, we are not even going to have this conversation. We've had it plenty of times. Subscribe now. You keep watching the videos. You love the content. Subscribe. Turn your notification bells on. And if you're not following me over on TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook, you're really missing out. Follow me there as well. On today's episode, we will be talking about a highly requested topic, which is the Mandela effect. What it means, what is going on with it, and how it's affecting timelines and dimensions. So, I know I got a lot of 420 friendly people, okay? Some of these videos, which this is probably going to be a longer video, you might want to either be sober, or if you understand better whenever you have passed, then you might want to either indulge or don't indulge. We will be going over some of the craziest Mandela effects. We will be talking about Cern a little bit, which not a lot of it, but just a little. I don't want to be in arguments with them folks. As always, I will be tagging all of the TikTok creators that I feature in this video. It's very important. If you want to get more of this type of content, you need to be following the creators and tell them that the Black Cauldron sent you. What is the Mandela effect? The Mandela effect started up somewhere between, and this is just to conspiracy theorists, it could have been before them, but it really became a popular thing in the year of around 2009-ish. And this is whenever you look at certain things and you know that they were a different way. And it might be just one detail that's off, but you know it was different. You knew that it was different. It's like we're being gaslit into believing that we're crazy or it was never that way. And you'll see what I'm talking about in the videos. You'll be like, wait a minute, wasn't it this way? It was never spelled this way, or it never looked this way. And it trips you out into believing that you're crazy. No. Please don't be gaslit into believing that. Cern is working overtime in this timeline. And again, you got to follow some of these creators because some of them, they are talking about just the Mandela effect, but some of them are talking about some real deep philosophical shit. And y'all have to tap into this energy and this spirit because they don't want us to know certain things, and it's very apparent. As a warning, I am sharing multiple content creators' content. So sometimes the Mandela effect that they're speaking of may be mentioned in another video. Please, y'all, don't be on my neck about that. I'm doing the best that I can. I'm not going to be editing these people's content because it's their content and I respect it. So if you see some repeats, be patient with the creator and me, especially because I don't want to alter anybody's content other than the little occasional speed up so that it doesn't get demonetized or this video doesn't be taken down. So you might see some repeats, but even though you may see repeats, it's all the same information that a certain entity, a certain organization is playing in your face. So let's get into it. This first creator goes by the handle John Time, and he is pointing out some very suspicious and obvious Mandela effects. Like, you can't deny it, especially if you were born in the 80s or the early 90s, like I was. Just watch.
14 Mandela effects that make you doubt the past. Alexander Hamilton never served as the President of the United States. He was actually the first Secretary of the Treasury. Disney's Mickey Mouse character has a tail. Curious George has never had a tail. Some people remember different numbers of rings around the bullseye in the Target logo, but the one on the left is the correct one. The Berenstain Bears are actually called the Berenstain Bears. The Raisin Bran son doesn't wear sunglasses. There's no hyphen in the name of Kit Kat chocolate bars. In I Love Lucy, Ricky never actually said, "Lucy, you got some splainin' to do." Shaggy from Scooby-Doo doesn't have a prominent Adam's apple. The song from Grease is actually Greased Lightnin', not Grease Lightnin'. Jiffy peanut butter doesn't exist. It's Cheez-It, not Cheez-Its. It's Captain Crunch, not Captain Crunch. Those onion ring snacks are called Funyuns, not Funyuns. Which of these facts shocked you?
Yeah, they're finna piss me off. Shaggy absolutely had a protruding Adam's apple. Jiffy has always been fucking Jiffy. It was never Jif. Where did we get the word Jiffy from? The Berenstain? No, it's the Berenstein Bears. I used to love it. Now, I was born in the very early 90s, like the beginning of that shit. Y'all can guess if y'all want to. And I know my early 90s, 80s babies remember all of these. Since fucking when? Does Mickey Mouse have a tail? Okay, this is after my nursery rhyme video, and they're just ruining it. They're ruining my childhood. This next creator is It's Weird Time, and this Mandela effect I feel like could be off. And he's explaining how Miley Cyrus called A$AP Rocky the wrong name, and we all remember this. Like, this is recent compared to all the rest of them. But just take a look and tell me what you think. Do you think that MTV, because it's at the MTV Awards of some sort, do you think they edited it, or did we all hear the wrong shit?
One of the craziest Mandela effects I've ever seen.
Back in the VMAs, Miley Cyrus was hosting VMAs. She was like doing a call out to everybody in the crowd. They're like, oh, we got The Weeknd.
Oh yeah,
we got Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
And then one of them, she said, and this was what made headlines.
Yeah.
Where she said, shout out A$AP Rocker.
Travis Scott, no?
No, not Travis
Oh,
Scott.
okay.
But remember when she said,
Oh, A$AP Rocker. Yeah.
Yeah, A$AP Rocker.
Yeah, but
Yo.
and then he went like,
yeah, and then A$AP Rocky's like, stop it. So there's a Mandela effect.
What?
With A$AP Rocky. What do you remember?
what he was wearing?
No, not even that. Plot twist, she never said A$AP Rocker.
No.
Yeah, she never said A$AP Rocker.
No.
Everyone from our era, we all remember that shit.
What the f did she say then?
Look, listen.
No, there's gotta be AI.
I like your swoop. The Weeknd.
The Weeknd.
Yeah.
And they're all cheesed. Remember this?
Yeah.
And A$AP Rocky.
A$AP Rocky. She just said A$AP Rocky.
By the way, this video is scripted and for entertainment purposes only. Stay weird.
I was grown at this time with children and married, and she absolutely said A$AP Rocker, and I was like, girl, what the fuck are you talking about? His name is A$AP Rocky. It's never changed. So how did you blow that? And now on YouTube and anywhere you look, it's the correct saying. It's the correct name. But at the time, she said A$AP Rocker. I don't care. Argue with your mammy. This next clip comes from Haunted Hut, but I know they are not the original content creators. And it is of Elon Musk and Joe Rogan on Joe Rogan's podcast talking about the Mandela effect and push-up pops.
There's another crazy Mandela effect, and it's about push pops.
Wait, like the popsicle?
Yeah, remember push pops, how we always used to eat it? It was like the cylinder wrapper, you know, and like the little stick at the bottom, the plastic stick, right?
Yeah, those are literally the best.
Yeah, and whenever we go to the store, right, we would ask, can we get a push pop, right? And then the worker would sell it to us. We could all agree, everyone used to call it a push pop.
Yeah, they even had like the Flintstones one.
So I saw a video by Haley Elizabeth, I think that's her name, and she talked about a crazy Mandela effect that's gonna blow your mind. Just to be clear, we all used to call this thing a push pop.
Yeah, because that's the name.
So it's actually not called a push pop, but it's actually called a push up.
What?
Yeah, it's called a push up and not push pop. It's just push up with no pop at the end. Even everybody all over the internet agrees that we all used to call push pops, and it's weird how we all remember in a certain way, but apparently it never happened.
I grew up poor, okay? And I used to carry my little ass to the corner store. Forget the name, because all of them is called corner store. I don't care what city, state, country. If you got a store that is in walking distance, it's the corner store. And I would carry my ass down there with a $5 paper food stamp. I'm showing my age. And I would ask for a push pop. And guess what that man gave me? The exact same thing that's in this video. It's a push pop. Again, argue with your mammy. This next creator goes under the handle Woods Owned, and he is talking about the biggest Mandela effect. And if you say you never seen it or that it didn't exist, you are a liar. He's explaining how they're trying to dupe us. There's no other, they're trying to scam us. Just watch the video.
Proof dimensions are starting to mesh together.
If you remember watching Shazam in the 90s with Sinbad, the actor, well, the movie never existed.
You all remember a movie called Shazam with Sinbad playing the genie? You know what? The movie was never real. It was, the rumor started in 2009. I don't know where it came from, but it's not real.
Millions of people remember watching this movie, but it never existed. Apparently, it's a Mandela effect, a collective false memory of something that a lot of people remember, but it never happened. Just like, for instance, the Mandela effects of the Monopoly guy with the monocle, the Berenstain Bears with an E, and George the monkey with the tail. These things never happened. And the thing is, I recently found videos of people who actually have a VHS tape of the Shazam.
I still don't
movie.
understand the whole issue with this movie Shazam, with Sinbad.
If it never existed, how come a lot of people still have the VHS tape? Are we in a different timeline? Time travel? Parallel universe? What's going on?
But yet it never existed.
Strange, isn't it? But it gets even stranger. I found an original scene from the Shazam movie. In it, several Mandela effects.
What are you doing? Dad could have thrown out all of Mom's stuff. He just couldn't have. James, there's gotta be something he forgot here. Something real we can remember her by.
George the monkey with the tail. What?
Hey, we have our memories. They're real. No one can take that from us. Yeah.
Clean this up. Can you imagine if Dad saw this mess?
Really done. Bless you. What is that?
Berenstain Bears with an E. What? Nelson Mandela dead at 68. What?
Tina? Wait, y'all are not Tina.
Kidnapper! Wait, you knew her mom?
I want you to make me my own dinosaur.
Last but not least, Carmen Sandiego with a yellow suit. Why would someone leave so many Mandela effects inside of a movie that never existed? What is going on here? Time travel or what?
I seen this movie. I'm not crazy. I seen this movie, and then Shaq had another movie, and then it started to get like weird because people were confusing that movie with this movie. Baby, I seen Shazam. I know this existed. I seen it with my own eyes. Why are we doing this? Why is the government doing this to us and making us think that we need psychiatric help? This movie absolutely existed. My brother is 4 years older than me, and he loved this damn movie. And it was annoying because why do we have to watch it 14 times in a row? I know this movie existed, and comment down below if you've seen this movie as well. This next creator goes under the hand of Nicole, and I like to dub her as the queen of Mandela effects. I mean, she got so deep into this, like her husband was like, you gotta stop. Her counselor, her therapist was like, chill, shorty. But she proved everybody wrong, and I'll explain that a little bit later. But look at what she said about these Mandela effects. And if it's any repeats in there, I apologize. I'm not editing her video. Sue me. I'm going to let her have her shine. Just watch what she says.
Mandela effects that upset me the most. This timeline really did the Monopoly man dirty because they took away his monocle. I'd give anything for a box of Cheez-Its, but since they don't exist, I'll settle for the real deal, which is a box of Cheez-It. Smokey the Bear wants to keep the world from burning down. Wrong, his name's actually Smokey Bear. Luke, I am your father. Wrong. It's no, I am your father. I love Febreze as much as the next gal, but if you want to be in this timeline, you have to take out one of the E's. I know what a cornucopia is because when I was younger, I was shopping with my mom at JCPenney and I asked her what was on the Fruit of the Loom logo, and she said it was a cornucopia, and I'm so grateful for my incredible imagination for making up the cornucopia that has never existed in the Fruit of the Loom logo. I've always loved the Laughing Cow's nose ring until I found out it doesn't exist. Another style I truly admired was that of the Raisin Bran sun, especially the sunglasses, which I apparently made up. I love Jiffy peanut butter, even though the company is trying to gaslight me into believing that it's always been called Jif. Iconic, iconic, iconic. Too bad the microphone was never a part of the iconic key. Loved when Curious George would swing around from his tail, except for that he never had one. That's okay because Mickey Mouse has had a tail all along. What he never had, however, was suspenders, which is odd since I have memories of him snapping them while driving the boat.
Everything that she said is facts. Like I said, some of y'all that watched me were born in the early 2000s. All right, you may have seen some of these, but us 80s and 90s babies know that everything that she said is facts. There was absolutely a cornucopia in the Fruit of the Loom's logo, and this is what made her famous, is the cornucopia. And later on, she goes through all of her clothes, and guess what's on the logo? I don't know what they're trying to do. They're lying to us about something, and I'm just wondering what. This next creator goes under the handle Cody Cat, and she is talking about the sloppiest, in her opinion, Mandela effect, and I have to agree. I have to agree. This was so sloppy because we all were taught about JFK's assassination in school. We seen pictures. His autopsy pictures were online at some point. So just watch.
I know you've heard of the Mandela effect, and if you haven't, please look it up. Now, with Mandela effects, a lot of times this stuff rolls right off my back. You know, it is what it is. It's not moving me. But there's one Mandela effect that really gets to me. Like, really gets to me because it's just so ridiculous. And that Mandela effect is going to have to be the JFK assassination. And I'm going to tell you why. This Mandela effect went into, like, play probably, like, 4 years ago. But I remember it only being 3 people in that car. That middle row did not exist. And, like, let's be real. How many cars have y'all seen that got rows like that? What kind of car is this? It's like, what, a minivan, sedan? It was the driver, Jackie, and JFK in the car, not that middle row. So this middle row is, at the time, this was a Texas senator and his wife. And I don't know, I just never seen a car like this. And this is not what it was given when I was taught this in school. This is not Cern. What's going on? Is it Cern? Is this a Cern thing? This will be a Cern thing. Now y'all explain to me why the car in the museum only has 2 rows like I remember it, right? But all the photos have these magic 3 rows. Like, y'all messed up with this one, Cern. Y'all didn't do y'all due diligence. Y'all didn't scrub it down right because y'all left some remnants of the past. When y'all switched it up, y'all left y'all remnants. Y'all left some crumbs behind. Because what is this? This how I remember it. Do you?
And do, sis. I remember it. There was not 3 rows in that car. There were only 2. I also vaguely remember JFK and his wife sitting on the back of the car. Not like in the actual seats like the picture. Y'all comment down below. People that are seasoned that were alive during that time. Because a lot of y'all follow me. Tell me what you remember. Because I know what I remember when I was being taught in school. There was only 2 rows. Where did that 3rd row come from? This next creator goes by the handle PJ Chavez. And he is explaining a Mandela effect that I know for sure happened. It happened, y'all. I'm not finna argue with nobody. And you're gonna say that absolutely happened as well.
Do you remember Ed McMahon delivering large checks to people's homes that had won Publishers Clearinghouse contests? A lot of people do, despite that never happening.
Y'all not finna play on my top and say this did not happen. We can argue all day. I got time. I don't have nothing else to do but this. That happened. Remember, I just said a couple videos ago, I grew up poor. So I would see these commercials on TV and I'd be like, damn, I wish I could win one of those from my mom. Damn, I wish we could have that type of money, because these people were opening their door, unsuspected winners. And it was Ed McMahon with balloons and a huge check. But that didn't happen. Come on now. Remember earlier I showed you the lady that had all of the Mandela effects, and I said she's like the queen of Mandela effects and the Fruit of the Loom cornucopia debacle. Well, this is Elon Musk again on Joe Rogan's podcast, explaining the situation a little bit further and giving us further context in how she found a t-shirt that was old as hell in her closet, drawers, whatever, and it had a cornucopia on it.
So did you see the lady that actually proved the Mandela effect as a government experiment?
So she was able to prove this?
Yeah. So one of the most popular Mandela effects is the Fruit of the Loom Mandela effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where everybody remembers there being a cornucopia on the logo of Fruit of the Loom clothing, but apparently there's not.
Yeah.
And this lady was super convinced that there used to be a cornucopia on the logo, but Fruit of the Loom came out and said that they've never had a cornucopia, like basically just calling this lady crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Fruit of the Loom even has a post of all the past logos they had, all the way back to like 1893, and basically they're trying to prove that they've never had a cornucopia on their logo. But then someone came out and they actually have photo proof of this, that they found a piece of clothing in their closet with a cornucopia on the Fruit of the Loom logo. And then after this, people did more digging and they actually found newspaper articles talking about Fruit of the Loom and how there's a cornucopia around it.
So this is like the first Mandela effect to really be confirmed?
Yeah, then they literally found government documents of the Fruit of the Loom company mentioning a cornucopia, showing that the cornucopia has been a part of the company. So they can't say it's never existed, right? And since this lady has been able to prove this Mandela effect wrong, people now think that the government has been using the Mandela effect to try to see how much history they could erase without the population knowing.
Crazy Mandela effects that I can guarantee you have not seen before. These will genuinely blow your mind and make you question everything. Now, unless you want to be absolutely terrified out of your mind, then just keep on scrolling. Honestly, this will keep you up all goddamn night. First up, Disney. Probably everyone remembers this. Yeah, Tinkerbell dotting the I in the intros. I remember this vividly, like I clearly remember this happened. Well, it didn't. And it never did. What? A lot of people swear that they remember a robber emoji, and a hiker emoji which looks similar to this one right here. Now, especially the robber one, I remember that extremely clearly. Like, I used that, I swear. But it never existed. Apple didn't remove it or anything, it just never existed. Now, your parents will no doubtably remember the book and everything, the Bernstein Bears. It was extremely famous, everybody knows it was called the Bernstein Bears, but it's always been called the Bernstein Bears.
Y'all, this Mandela effect stuff is getting weird. I just ran across the Mandela effect that literally, I don't even know what to think. At some point, you just have to look at these and be like, yeah, like, this is just not right. Because there's no way this one is. And if you're an 80s or 90s baby like me, you know damn well this ain't right. So before we get into it, make sure you like, follow, and share to support your girl. Now, let's get into it, y'all. So like I said, if you're an 80s or 90s baby, you're immediately going to know this is wrong. And of course, I'm talking about the movie E.T. In this movie, there's a specific line that E.T. says. He learns the words home and phone, and he says, E.T. phone home. That simple, right? Well, look at this clip. E.T. home. That's not right. It's E.T. phone home. I know it is. There's nothing you can say to convince me it's not. But what's even weirder is listen to what they say after he says that.
E.T. phone home. E.T. phone home. E.T. phone home.
So you're telling me that E.T. said the wrong words, but the kids repeated the right words to him. Okay, that's what we're doing. Yeah, no, it's E.T. phone home. How would the kids know to say that if it wasn't? So why they change his words and not theirs too? What do y'all remember? Because I know I ain't the only one.
How many of these 5 household Mandela effects have you fallen victim to? First up, we have Febreze. Which one of these 2 spellings looks correct to you? I remember 2 E's because phonetically it just makes sense. Febreze. But in our current reality, it's always been 1 E. To me, that would be like Febreze. Next up, we have whiteout. Do you remember whiteout being spelled like whiteout, like the regular way that you spell white? Or do you remember it no H, like whiteout? To me, it's always been the regular spelling of white, but in our current reality, there's never been an H. What about this product right here? Is it Goo Gone or is it Goo Be Gone? I always remember it being Goo Be Gone, but apparently there's never been a B. In our current reality, it's always just been Goo Gone. Then there's the cat food that's in the purple packaging. Do you remember that being called Whiskers or Whiskas? I personally thought it was Whiskers, but in our current reality, it's always been Whiskas. And last but not least, we have the soft soap. Everybody's mom had soft soap in their bathroom. A lot of our mothers based their entire bathroom decor off of the soft soap that they chose. There's mostly different aquatic versions of it. There's a really iconic clownfish. There's this fish. It's all kinds of different fish. My favorite one was the blue one with the orca whales on it. Except what if I told you the orca whale soft soap never existed? Not even a special edition, nothing. At least not in our current reality, but I know my mom had that. So if you remember any of these the way that I remember them, then you probably jumped into the same parallel reality that I did. So tell me in the comments.
When I tell you my good sis was invested to the point where her husband was like, please leave it alone. Her counselor was like, seek professional help, even though she was the professional help. It was unhinged. And this poor lady was made to feel like she was crazy, and she absolutely was not. Y'all gotta start trusting y'all intuition. The shit that people are doing. Or people, as I mean, like Cern. What they're doing. And we're gonna get into that in a little bit. Sorry if I look frazzled. I fell asleep for 2.5 hours. Anybody knows me in real life, they know I'm good for literally eating and then falling asleep. This is why I'm still big back and I got 2 chins, because I be falling with food, asleep with food on my stomach. But this next creator goes underneath the handle Wordmaster, and this is a very popular Mandela effect that I know is true, and you know it too, especially if you watch Disney as a child or if you have a kid that watches Disney. Take a look.
Okay, so I have Mandela effects all over my TikTok. I'm in some weird Mandela effect algorithm. So I need to weigh in on the Snow White Mandela effect. Now, some of us remember it as the evil witch or evil queen going to the mirror and saying, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? But apparently the Mandela effect is that she always said magic mirror on the wall. Now, I don't believe that to be true. I call horseshit. I know it was mirror, mirror. But I've been looking for videos that says mirror, mirror, and I can't find one. So I found this one from 9 years ago. And listen to what it says. But I have proof that it's mirror, mirror. Hold on. Okay, look. I typed in original mirror scene Snow White. Found this one from 9 years ago.
Slave in the magic mirror, come from the farthest space. Through wind and darkness I summon thee. Speak. Let me see thy face.
What wouldst thou know, my queen?
Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?
Right. I heard magic mirror too. Are we in a parallel universe? Right. But now I remember it was mirror, mirror on the wall, because I had a book when I was a little girl. It was my favorite book in the entire world. It's a Disney book that had all of the stories, all the Disney stories written out. And I used to read this book obsessively when I was little. And I still have it. Now, I was little like 40 years ago. So this book is 4 decades old. Watch. Right. I heard magic mirror too. Are we in a parallel universe? Right. But now I remember it was mirror, mirror on the wall, because I had a book when I was a little girl. It was my favorite book in the entire world. It's a Disney book that had all of the stories, all the Disney stories written out. And I used to read this book obsessively when I was little. And I still have it. Now, I was little like 40 years ago. So this book is 4 decades old. Watch. Okay, so this is the book. Walt Disney's Treasure of Children's Classics. And I found a page here. 1978. Okay, that's how old this book is. 1978, people. Here is the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Mirror, mirror on the wall. And for those thinking, oh, maybe it's a typo. Wrong, wrong. Because look at this. Mirror, mirror on the wall. You see? Do you see? I was right. I think I'm onto something.
It's mirror, mirror on the wall. What is even magic mirror on? Come on now. And she had literally had the book from 1978 to prove it. Let's be for real now. This next creator is It's Weird Time Again. And I suspect that this may be a little edited, but I don't have the proof. So I'm going to put it in here. And it's of a man catching the Mandela effect live. And it's a pretty cool TikTok. So even if it's not real, it's still pretty cool. So just watch.
Remember when this guy filmed the Mandela Effect live?
This just creeps me out, man. I don't even like to be in this room anymore. But I sleep in here. You look at that. That shit is changing. It is changing.
Pretty cool, right? But this is exactly how I feel when people are like, it's always been the Berenstain Bears. Who are the Berenstain Bears? I could have swore it was the Berenstain Bears. So this is kind of how I feel like in my head. This is what it looks like. It just magically turns from an E to an A and vice versa. So, but comment down below if you've seen this, if you think it's edited. This next creator goes under the handle The Ghostface Panda, and it is explaining a little bit further Cern and the Mandela effect and how this all became, and a little bit of an idea, hypothesis on why all of this is happening. Call me a conspiracy theorist because I'm all of those things, but it's just no coincidence. These aren't, like the video said, regular degler smegler Joes that think this. Why would physicists be thinking that this future or this bird came from the future to stop the work at Cern? And I hadn't looked into Cern very deeply because usually I'm like the surface level conspiracy theorist where I'm like, you know, the government, they do this, but I didn't even get into Cern because I didn't want to go down a rabbit hole. And I ended up going down a rabbit hole. And I absolutely believe this. And I'm going to show you why. This next creator goes under the handle The Mind's Eye, and he's explaining what he thinks the government is doing with all of these Mandela effects and why it's happening.
I have a theory that the Mandela effect is used to see how much of history can be altered in front of our eyes. Here's a prime example of one of that. There's this woman on TikTok who was going crazy because she swore the Fruit of the Loom had a cornucopia logo. And to the point that even Fruit of the Loom themselves put a timeline of all their logos and it never had a cornucopia. And this woman went hard. Her therapist told her, yo, you need to chill out. You need to just drop this. So she went through all of her old clothing and thing. Lo and behold, she found a shirt with the Fruit of the Loom with the cornucopia logo on it. That shows me, like, yo, I think the Mandela effect is an operation that's running around right now to see how much of history can be altered right in front of our eyes without us noticing. And then they gaslight the public and be like, nope, this never happened.
Damn, I didn't think about it like that.
Yeah, bro. People are thinking about it very little. Like, oh, it's the Berenstain Bears or the Berenstein Bears or Jiffy or Jif's peanut butter. No, it's much larger than that, guys. They're using this to see, oh, if we can get people to forget certain primary things about their childhood, what can we do with history?
This is facts. This is one of the things I think that they're doing. He's on to something. These last videos come from an account called JK Ultra. Remember at the very beginning I said, if you puff pass, you might want to be like, if you can't handle information overload, this is the part of the video where you're like, okay, I'm going to come back to it. And if it takes a little tree for you to open up here, then this is the time that you spark up. Because this woman literally does the deepest dive on the Mandela effect in Cern. And it's going to take an open consciousness to understand what she's talking about, because sis was dropping facts. She was reading books. She was referencing physics, physicist. So just listen to what she says. It is lengthy. If you can, put your playback speed up, okay? But just watch what she says.
I'm sure you've heard of the Mandela effect by now. This phenomenon started in the year 2013, when the former president of South Africa passed away on December 5th of 2013. When the world was mourning his death, thousands of people around the world had a vivid memory of him passing away in prison during the 80s. This became known as the Mandela effect. However, the term actually came up in 2010, when a woman named Fiona Broom realized Nelson Mandela was still alive. Her and many others even remembered the ceremonies on the news, the widow's speech. After Nelson Mandela's passing, mainstream media picked it up and called it collective false memories. But are these truly false memories? Or is this evidence of multiple timelines and parallel universes? In this series, we're going to look at some popular Mandela effects, but we're also going to explore the idea of collapsed timelines, the possible time wars, yes, time wars, that are occurring in the future to manipulate our present timeline. We're going to look at what Cern might possibly have to do with this. And if these are truly false memories, then why is there only two options? If it was false memories, don't you think there would be hundreds of different ways that people remembered things? But it's always two distinct things that are very close. Now, the Mandela effect became really popular when people began to notice that the popular children's book that most of us read as children was the Berenstain Bears, not the Berenstein Bears. And wait, didn't the Monopoly Man have a monocle? Why doesn't he have one now? I could have sworn it was the Flintstones, not the Flintstones. Do you remember Looney Tunes or Looney Tunes? Was it Oscar Mayer with an E or Oscar Mayer with an A? I could have swore that Fruit of the Loom had a cornucopia, but I guess it didn't. I could have swore that Tweedledee and Tweedledum had a little propeller on their hat, not a green flag. And was Cruella de Vil always spelled de-Vil? Was it Cocoa Puffs or Cocoa Puffs? Many people remember the Mona Lisa looking like this, although today she's smiling. These little Debbie cakes, there's no line dividing them, but many people remember a small line that you could break it into two. I could have sworn Curious George had a tail, but he doesn't anymore. We all remember Mirror, Mirror on the Wall, who's the fairest of them all. But apparently she said Magic Mirror on the Wall. The famous quote, Luke, I am your father, never exactly happened. It was just, I am your father. Another famous quote, Hello, Clarice, from Silence of the Lambs, isn't in the movie. He just says good morning. Now this one hits close to home. The famous line, Lucy, you got some splaining to do, never happened. Stay tuned, because we're going to talk about collapsed timelines and possible reasons. Hey guys, welcome back. But first, cosmic brownies. So a lot of people in the comments are saying that there's two sizes available. So both of these exist. And personally, I haven't seen one of these since I was a little Debbie. So thank you to the people who put their own health at risk to eat these things. I'm sorry. I truly love you guys. Randy Kramer. This is a clip from the Gaia show called Cosmic Disclosure. Take a look at his explanation of the Mandela effect.
And in order for it not to cease to exist, that timeline then merges with another timeline. So it doesn't cease to exist, it joins another timeline, and then that has to merge and go forward.
Okay, so what causes a timeline to collapse?
Timeline collapsing is a result of some of the other experiments that are being done in opening up, in some cases, very large portals, multidimensional portals, big enough that you could, fly a ship through. And some of those have incurred let's just say, temporal accidents.
Here's one possible example of a temporal accident. This event happened on September 10th of 2008. But NASA just wanted to clarify, the world didn't end. Here's what didn't happen. No, there was not the creation of a microscopic black hole.
Things were completely different on one timeline to another, and now they've come together. And so you have people who just remember things completely differently because they were on a different timeline.
But if Cern collapsed an entire timeline, I'm sure they'd admit to it, right? I mean, they did sing and dance to the song Happy.
Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. Bring me down. Bring me down.
He's holding three signs. One that says Mandela, one that says Bond number 1, and one that says We are happy at Cern. Mandela? But what's Bond number 1? Well, who was the first James Bond? Barry Nelson. Nelson Mandela. The Mandela effect. And what the hell does that sign say? Is that for the other timeline? What's their effect called? Who exactly is this guy? Physicist John Ellis.
Here's my favorite theory. I'm going to have to say string theory. Of course, the standard model is fantastic.
So what exactly is string theory? So take a look at any object around you. I'm going to use this really awesome book that I just got. So of course, a book is made of a cover and pages, but on a much smaller level, it's made of molecules, like everything around us. And those molecules are made of atoms. And it's important we go over this because this creepy portal looking thing at CERN, the LHC, the Large Hadron Collider, is a giant atom smasher. Now back to string theory. We have molecules. When you look deeper into molecules, you have atoms. When you look deeper into an atom, you have a nucleus. When you go deeper, you have neurons and protons. When you go deeper, you have quarks. And now here's where string theory comes in. Theoretical physicists theorize that when you go deeper, everything is just a little string that's vibrating, and that none of these things are really particles at all. They're just a bunch of vibrating strings. Everything around us is just a collection of vibrating strings. And this is why some people call this the theory of everything. Now, if you guys go back to my Earthshift series, Marina Jacobi channeled this from aliens in the future. Yes, I said aliens from the future. And these aliens say that the quantum structure is these little waves of frequency, which just so happen to look like little vibrating strings. When 3 of them match, they create a trinity. When 3 more match, they create another trinity. And when these 3 trinities meet, they begin to create a reality. 3, 6, 9. And here's a quote from Nikola Tesla. If you only knew the magnificence of 3, 6, and 9, then you would have the key to the universe. Now, of course, Marina Jacobi's work is not recognized by quantum physicists. However, it doesn't sound so far off. If everything is just vibrating little strings, and these strings come together to form particles, now let's take a look at one of the most famous studies in quantum theory. That by simply watching something, as the observer, you are affecting the reality. And I know this is boring, but we have to know this in order to understand the Mandela effect and to deal with the naysayers who think they have such good memories. Like, no, reality's not even fucking real, dude. Like, come on. And we need to know this because if everything in the universe is made of these strings, what could happen if a bunch of people are just smashing them? Only appear to be particles because they're being observed, then what the fuck are they really smashing? And if time is simultaneous, hey guys, we're coming in hot with this next part. I needed you to understand what the theoretical physicists are saying so we can get to my expertise as a theoretical conspiracist. And it's important you know those things because when you go back to the Earthshift series, this is more proof that you shape your reality, that you can create new timelines, and that you can manifest the world that you want to live in. Now, if time is simultaneous, and the future is technically now, and you go back to the concept of our entire reality and universe being a hologram, then a bunch of vibrating strings taking the form of things that appear to be matter, simply because we're observing them, then maybe all of the realities and all of the dimensions are using those exact same strings, but they're appearing different to each thing that's observing them. And you know me, I'm gonna bring it back to Dolores Cannon. The Convoluted Universe, Book 1. The chapter's called Parallel Universes. They're never absolutely identical. There's always at least one thing different, and that one thing is enough to make another universe. And it can be as small as a grain of sand being positioned differently on a beach, which explains why a lot of the Mandela effects are extremely close. Either it's an E or an A. And what makes it more complex is that there is always new universes being created. For every action, there's more than one possible outcome. In your universe, one outcome is realized, but all the energy of the other outcomes have to go somewhere. And so these different outcomes that were not realized in your universe cause another universe that is practically identical It gives the example that your nose itches. You can rub your nose, you can scratch your nose, or you can sneeze. If you sneeze, that's the universe that becomes realized and perceived by you. But the energy of the two other outcomes, two other universes come into being. Now, of course, this is confusing. How is everything happening at once? But it says that happening implies a beginning and an end, and we have to look at it as existing, because existing is undefined. So if each individual person is able to constantly create new timelines and parallel universes, what could cause thousands or millions of people to shift into a parallel reality at the same time? Now, you might remember this from my Earthshift series. The same aliens that gave Marina Jacobi that information gave Barbara Marciniak this information. Timelines, the fabric of time, and the tubes that run through these fabrics of time are all hooked into primary events. Without primary events, you cannot hook into a timeline. The splitting of the atom was a primary event. The invention of the internet was also a primary event. And guess where the internet originated? Cern. That's right, www. Which you might remember this from my Apocalyptic Prophecy series. The Hebrew alphabet is represented by numbers. So www in Hebrew means 666. And coincidentally, CERN's logo is also 666. But what does this all mean? Oh, and the reason that string theory is really important? It originated at CERN. Today we're going to discuss the possibility that there might be a division of the government that handles timelines, and could that have been the inspiration for the Christopher Nolan movie Tenet? The only reason that I was able to follow along is because I watched this episode of Cosmic Disclosure about Time Wars.
Time Core, they regulate all time travel.
Who's in control of the Time Core, though?
Time Core is in control of Time Core.
Yeah, and who's in control of them?
They are associated with the military, but they don't answer to the military, nor do they answer to any political or ruling bodies. They actually are operated under mandates to protect the time-space stream, and will do whatever they deem is necessary or required to keep the time stream clear.
So I'll summarize some more of what he says in this episode, which this is season 10. The episode is called Time Wars. So he claims that Time Core is stationed in the future, that if you go to the location of their headquarters, you would not see their headquarters there because they're stationed in the future. And their headquarters is basically in a temporal bubble, a time bubble. And that basically they know they did their job if they look out the window and there's a world left. That some days they look out and it's just devastation. And other days they look out and the world is thriving. And that basically they're calculating algorithms. The smartest people on Earth are calculating these algorithms so that when something happens to our timeline, they're able to pinpoint what happened, travel to that moment, and make adjustments. Now, the biggest issue for them is time-traveling species from the future. And if you remember this book by Barbara Marciniak, which also said that there's beings that are manipulating our timeline in a way that we believe our human history is different because we only perceive that things could have came from the past and that the future hasn't occurred yet. So when certain beings change things in the future, we think some of these artifacts are from the past, but some of them are from the future. And in this movie, very similar to what Randy Kramer is saying, divisions of the government that are stationed in the future are using algorithms and weaponizing these algorithms to make changes in our present. And the reason why his future self and present self couldn't meet, they could rip a hole in time or create realities that they never exist. Hey guys, welcome back. I'm so exhausted I was gonna go to bed, but I saw this really cool stuff, so.
The Berenstain timeline is in the 17th dimension.
Maybe later, sis. I'm really into this book, Flash Grizzly in the 17th dimension. 17th dimension? You've heard of the 3rd dimension and the 4th dimension. Well, the 17th dimension is so far out that you can't reach it even if you go at the speed of light. Well, Frill.
What? Okay, so personally, I think it's probably edited, but that was pretty cool. Looking through an old Palm Pilot.
This doorway, what happens? And it's fucking...
I dug it out, and I noticed that the Berenstain had said Berenstain in that room. But I come out here into just the normal other part of the house, and it says this. So, just so you know I'm not crazy, I'm going to show you, as I pass through this doorway, what happens, and it's fucking weird. Alright, it happens when it gets in the room. See it? And then back out here.
I sleep in here.
I think it's interesting that the book is called On Time. My personal opinion is that this is also edited, although very fun to watch.
The Berenstain Bears! Oh, Goldilocks.
So it says Berenstain, but it sounded like he said Berenstein, didn't it?
The fact that you like me right now. You like me.
Okay, I did fall asleep. But this famous quote, "You like me, you really like me," is now, "Right now you like me." What's interesting is that her brother, Rick Field, works at Cern on the Large Hadron Collider. And according to them, when their mother, Margaret Field, was in the movie The Man from Planet X in 1951, that this story inspired both children. It inspired Sally to become an actress like her mom, and it inspired Rick to work at Cern.
You love me. You really love me.
So as you saw, Jim Carrey was remembering it the old way. Now in Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal Lecter doesn't say, "Hello, Clarice." But once again, Jim Carrey, quoting in a movie,
"Hello, Clarice. It's good to see you again."
That's quite a wrap you're wearing. Who is this ghastly man? You must be the Monopoly guy. Hey, thanks for the free parking.
Interesting because he's in a movie about erasing memories, how his life isn't real, just a TV show, a movie about synchronicities and their deeper meaning. It makes you wonder if his entire career is teaching humanity the truth about our reality.
In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Yeah.
Now I want to explore what is the purpose of the Mandela effect. So let's look at a very brief history about the impact of Nelson Mandela on the world. Nelson Mandela is considered one of the ultimate figures of peace in modern history. South Africa was extremely racially divided. Even though 70 or more % of the population was black, it was being controlled by a small percentage of white people. South Africa was extremely segregated. Black Africans were not allowed to vote, not allowed to run for office, didn't have access to education, and the land was getting torn up by diamond mining, which of course only the white population was profiting from. And this in the 40s, 50s, and 60s was when Nelson Mandela started to come into power through an organization called the ANC, which they initially started with peaceful protesting. But when the government retaliated with violence, the ANC also became destructive, which led to a young Nelson Mandela being imprisoned for 27 years. Now, this is a really interesting YouTube page. It's called What If Alt History. And this person plays out different things in history if they went differently. So he explores what would have happened if Nelson Mandela actually died in the 80s. And it's really interesting what he explores, but the biggest thing is that South Africa would have probably went into a civil war and divided into two separate countries. But in this current timeline, Nelson Mandela survived prison and came out to be the first democratically elected president of South Africa. He was the first black president, but the first actual democratic president in the first election they ever did. And the reason he's such a figure of peace, is because when he became president and had the power to make changes, he didn't retaliate, he didn't act out of revenge. He acted out of compassion and tried to unite the two groups, which he did successfully. And you could see in their flag here that he united the colors of the country's black population and the red, white, and blue of the white population into a all-encompassing flag. Now, in this famous interview with Oprah, she asks, how could you go through the torture and imprisonment for 27 years and not have a cold heart and not be bitter? How do you come out of that experience with love and compassion and unite people?
On earth, you must try and use that period for the purpose of transforming your country into what you desire it to be. And therefore, you had to reject all negative visions in your own soul, in your blood system, and focus your attention on the positive.
How one person can be a catalyst for change, how he united a divided country, and how his message to the world was to use your time on earth to change the world around you. How you change the world around you from within yourself. And in the previous parts of this series, how the universe naturally corrects itself off of failed timeline. And when a timeline fails, it will then merge into a successful timeline. So it does make sense that a extremely impactful person that changed the world, dying in prison under the control of their oppressors, could have possibly been a failed timeline. But But my question is, why do some of us remember the other reality? What's the purpose of that? Now, this is my theory as to why some of us remember the other timeline. And if you've already watched my Earth Shift series, you know how I feel. I feel that a small group of people could change a collective timeline of the planet and shift the planet into a higher dimension. I think the purpose of us even remembering the Mandela effect is to have the proof of timelines in a way that people understand. When we talk about splitting timelines and parallel realities, it's confusing. But when someone knows in their heart that there was a damn cornucopia on the Fruit of the Loom logo, it makes multiple timelines and alternate realities. It makes it easier to understand. And it teaches a collective of people, of course, not everybody. Not everyone's going to shift the timeline of the planet. So who cares if they get it? But if you're one of the people who see this timeline shift, then you might be one of the people, one of the 3 waves of volunteers that I talked about in the Earth Shift series. Maybe you're one of those people who's meant to shift the timeline of the planet. And you need to understand how fluid the timelines are, how time is not solid, how the past is not solid. Like, yeah, so we can change the future, but also the past has changed. So this is your sign to start creating the future that you want to see. If one man, Nelson Mandela, could change an entire country, then go back to the 144,000 video I did, because less than 1% of the population can change an entire planet.
I hope y'all caught and understood that tea and how like explosive it is in hindsight. Because if scientists, Cern, are messing with timelines, then this would explain everything. Even the 369 method. Like, I tell a lot of my patrons, I've written ebooks about this and never knew that it could be tied into the Mandela effect. You could literally quantum jump into a new life. I feel like my timelines have gotten put into each other, intertwined, and I have jumped several timelines. Even one of the timelines being this, what I'm doing right now. This is what quantum jumping is, but on a grander scale. And they think we don't notice. That's the most insulting part. They think we do not notice, but we absolutely do. They know we know. They got to. That is all for today, YouTube. And if you would like me to cover a topic, person, place, or thing, please let me know in the comments down below or email me. And until next time, y'all do good, be good, and stay safe.